So I'm going to be reading from this book, the Apocrypha, real good book. And I wanted to read from the chapter of Judith. This is Israel's power, that oneness, that frequency that the Most High hears of his people when they're all at one accord. Praise thy name. Praise God's name. Praise God's name. One accord. The power of oneness of the Most High, the God of Israel, that frequency. Judith 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And you can say Judith chapter 3, 1 through 13. I'm just going to read some of these. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Start at chapter 4, verse 9. Then every man of Israel cried to God with great fervency and with great vehemency did they humble their souls. So we know in this society, they say that a man, if he cries, that he's weak. But we know from the scriptures that man cried to the Most High. The Most High was Israel's power. They didn't need a king, They didn't need, a great multitude of an army. The Most High was Israel's power and strength. Okay. Go to verse 12. And cried to God of Israel all with one consent earnestly, that he would not give their children for a prey and their wives for a spoil, and the cities of their inheritance to destruction, and the sanctuary to profanation and reproach, and for the nations to rejoice at. So so the children of Israel cried on one consent earnestly.
Let me share with you an interesting phenomenon you've probably heard of or experienced before. This phenomenon precisely demonstrates how powerful sound and vibrations are. When I was a kid, I remember that moving my fingers around the wine glass was strangely making a very high-pitched sound, very high-pitched sound, very high-pitched sound, and I was really surprised by it. But what happened as I kept making that sound was that the glass suddenly broke.
To the Most High, that he would not give the children for a prey and for a spoil to the cities of other nations, to rejoice at. Kind of like today, like how our people have been given over to other nations. And now we sing, we dance, it's a mockery in a sense. Because everything about blacks, so-called blacks, about entertainment. Or if you can dance, you can sing. That's a real talent. I mean, yeah, that means a talent in itself, but that's not all so-called black people can do. But over here, the media, you would think something else. You would think that's the only thing black people are portrayed as, so-called black people. All right. Go to verse 13. So God heard their prayers and looked upon their afflictions, for the people fasted many days in all Judea and Jerusalem. 14. And Jocham, the high priest, and all the priests stood before the Most High, and they which ministered unto the Most High. I don't say Lord, because if you look that up in Hebrew, that means Baal. So I use Elohim instead of Lord. Okay. And they which ministered unto the Most High had their loins girt with sackcloth, and offered the daily burnt offerings with the vows and the free gifts of the people. Verse 15, and had ashes on their mitres. You see what them brothers be wearing on the GOCC and a lot of those other camps as well. That's where our ancestors wore in the days of antiquity. Okay, and cried unto the Most High with all their power.
This unusual phenomenon is called resonant frequency. Every molecule and atom in this universe is vibrating at a particular frequency, at a particular frequency, at a particular frequency. Resonance frequency would be considered the specific frequency of that specific object.
Homeboy. God's on your side. God's on your side, right?
What we call God depends upon our tribe, Clark Joe. Because God is tribal. God takes sides.
That he will look upon the house of Israel gracefully. See that? Cried, cried, cried. Let's see, cried, okay? Now we're going to go on to verse 5, okay? Chapter 5, excuse me. Then it was declared to Holofernes, if I'm pronouncing that right, the chief captain of the army of Ashur, that the children of Israel had prepared for war and had shut up the passages of the hill country and had fortified all the tops of the high hills and had laid impediments in the campaign countries. Verse 2, wherewith he was very angry and called all the princes of Moab and the captains of Ammon and all the governors of the sea coast. Verse 3, and he said unto them, tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who is this people? Who this people is that dwelleth in the hill country? And what are the cities that they inhabit? And what is the multitude of their army? And wherein is their power and strength? And what king is set over them, or captain of their army? Verse 4, and why have they determined not to come and meet me more than all the inhabitants of the west? Then said Achor, the captain of all the sons of Ammon, let my Lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people. He's talking about the children of Israel, which dwelleth near thee and inhabit the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of the mouth of thy servant. This people are descendants of the Chaldeans. Now, what did it say in 100 Amazing Facts about the Negroes? You know, J. Rogers and a lot of scholars knew that the Negroes, even Abraham, came from the Ur of Chaldees, the Shemitic phenotype. Okay, let's go to verse 7. And they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods, lowercase g, not the Most High, of their fathers. Because remember, our ancestors worshipped idols, different gods. If I remember, Abram at the time, his father, Terah, worshipped many idols. Okay. Let me see, which were in the land of Chaldea. For they left the way of their ancestors and worshiped the God of the heaven, the God whom they knew, which was the Most High, the God of Israel. So they cast them out of the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days. Okay. Then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned, and to go into the land of Canaan, which is the land of Israel today. So if you look up in the Zondervan, the Canaanites were a dark race of people, which you would call black. But when I mean black, I mean a different phenotype, you know, different clan, different tribes. All black people are not the same. That's one thing in America people have to grasp and get a reality that just because you're black don't mean you're of the same lineage. Okay? Where they dwelt and where increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle. Verse 10. But when the famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down to Egypt and sojourned there while they were nourished and became a great multitude, so that one could not number the nation. Just like in Isaiah, I think it's 10 and 22, Israel is the sand of the sea. They became a great multitude, so they can't be numbered. Verse 11. Therefore, the king of Egypt rose up against them and dealt subtly with them, and brought them low with laboring brick and made them slaves. It's talking about the Hebrews, the Shemitic Hebrews. Okay? And they cried, there's that word again, they cried unto their God, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues. So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. 13, and God dried the Red Sea before them, or the Reed Sea, 14, and brought them to Mount Sinai, and Cade's barn, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So we see that word cried. 9, cried. The men cried with great fervency, humbled their souls. Verse 12, and they cried to the God of Israel with one consent, that oneness, like in Black Wall Street. Remember, see, that's the problem with the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, I support so-called black people, but eventually they're gonna have to come to the realization that just because you're of a skin tone, that doesn't define your nationality, it doesn't define your race or seed line. Or if people will come into their nationality and they cry not into the government, like Pharaoh, because the government equals Pharaoh. If they cry to the Most High about how they are treating us, just like in that book with Deshaun Jackson read, from the book Jerusalem. What did he say? That, when the Negroes will wake up, that they are the children of Israel, and the white people will be scared that America will be destroyed like the Most High destroyed Egypt. Hold up, doesn't that say that right here? Therefore, the king of Egypt rose up against them and dwelt subtly with them, and brought them low with laboring in brick, and made them slaves. Then the Israelites, they cried unto their God, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues.
Or atom. Once you know the resonance frequency or specific frequency of an object or an atom, you can amplify its waves, making it so big that eventually it will break or destroy the object.
See that? This is in the book of Judith. This is what they took out. So it's Deshaun Jackson. What did he say? Is he lying? Or is it fact that people don't read? And why did they take this out? Why did they take this out? No one goes and looks in the scriptures and see why he read what he read. I'm pretty sure Deshaun Jackson don't even know this is in the book. He's just reading, you know what I'm saying? He's coming into who he is, you know what I'm saying? So it's there in scripture. They took it out. The Catholics, the church did. The people of Israel, descendants, that have to be on one accord. That frequency, just like in music, those notes.
East side, by the sun will stand and always praise thy name.
Lend a heart, sing hands to help increase thy fame. Ooh, Lord, the honor, yeah, of all decide, calls forth our loyalty. Loyalty. So cheap.
All right. Who taught you that? Answer me. I know you didn't do it yourself. Sam.
What?
Who taught you this song? Speak out!
Mrs. Powers.
No. Now you must remember, we need intonation, phonation, accuracy, and pitch. Now this is your note.
You know, music makes us laugh, it makes us dance, it makes us feel a certain way and get that certain vibe, you know. But when we cry, there's nothing wrong with a man crying. Christ, Hamishach, he wept for Lazarus. But I didn't want to make this too long. I just thought that was quite interesting. I was just reading the book of Judith, and then it's just like, man, Israel's on one accord. It's like Black Wall Street. And then, you know, with Deshaun Jackson, like, man, you know, look what he did to Egypt.
That's what happens when we stimulate the wine glass with a frequency that matches its resonance frequency.
But I just wanted to say that. Peace and shalom.
Mrs. Powers,
Yes, sir.
these hoodlums have told me something I can't believe. Are you the one who changed the school song like that?
Powers.
Let her answer.
Well, sir, the children thought the song was a bit boring.
Boring, huh? Mrs. Powers, I have never heard a school song like that. And I certainly never authorized you to change it. Did I? Did I?
Oh, you didn't.
I want everyone in this school to learn that song in English and Spanish immediately. Take a bow, Mrs. Powers. You've rewritten our alma mater.
Bring forth